All right, Councilmember, we've been joined by Councilmember Pinto, and we are live on YouTube. And Councilmember, you can begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Welcome, Councilmember Pinto. Good to see you. And to the committee staff, if we have the testimonies for the two public witnesses, please email those to me.
Will do. We'll re-forward that now.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Robert White, Councilmember at Large and Chair of the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities. Today is October 14th, 2021, and we are meeting remotely. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I had too many hearings today, and there we go. Sorry about that. We're meeting remotely via the Zoom teleconferencing platform. The time is now 1:02 p.m. and I'm calling to order this public hearing of the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities. The topic of today's hearing is Proposed Resolution 24-223, the 2 Patterson Surplus Declaration and Approval Resolution of 2021. The resolution would declare surplus a property on Patterson Street Northeast in Noma, right near where North Capitol crosses under New York Avenue. The district owns the land and it's pretty big, just under an acre. The land is zoned for high density, mixed residential and commercial use, but right now it's used as a parking lot. In recent years, the district has been holding on to it rather than developing it pursuant to what's known as the Northwest One redevelopment plan. The idea was that as part of the district's new communities approach to housing and community development, the district would replace aging public housing with replacement affordable housing. To that end, the district set aside some land in case we decided to build new replacement housing there. For the nearby Temple Courts, a neglected subsidized housing complex that was demolished 13 years ago with the promise of a place for the inhabitants to return, the executive originally decided that 2 Patterson was going to be that reserve location. The executive tells us that the new development at Temple Court site, to be known as Northwest One, is finally going to take care of their replacement housing goals. They write that that means they no longer need to keep 2 Patterson in reserve. I have questions for the executive as to how exactly they reach these conclusions. The Deputy Mayor for Public Planning and Economic Development has put together a proposal for what should happen next at 2 Patterson. It involves renting out the property for 99 years at a rate of $1 a year to a set of developers that have organized into a joint venture. The developers will then be responsible for turning the lot into a mixed-use development with commercial space and about 580 residential units. Their draft affordable housing plan calls for a total of 325 of the units to be set aside for households making 80% of the median family income or less, including 147 for households at or below 50% MFI, and 48 for households at or below 30% MFI. On top of these 325, another 217 are for households that make above the median income, but are still under 120%, sometimes called workforce housing. The affordable units will consist mostly of studio and 1-bedroom apartments, but include a few dozen 2- and 3-bedroom units and 10 4-bedroom units. Under our laws, whenever the district owns real property and wants to hand it off to a private party, including through a long-term lease, a few things typically need to happen first. The executive holds an administrative hearing to make sure that the district government doesn't actually need the property for some government purpose. That's called a surplus hearing. Then the executive holds another administrative hearing where they get input about what non-governmental use would be best to pursue. That's called a disposition hearing. Once the executive irons out exactly what disposition they want to make happen, then they send the council a set of proposals so that we can weigh in on whether the property really fits for surplus and whether we like the disposition proposal that the mayor came up with. There are technically 2 different resolutions that have to make it out of the council for the proposal to survive. One resolution confirming that the plot is surplus was referred to my committee, and a separate resolution confirming that the mayor's proposed disposition is acceptable was referred to the Committee on Business and Economic Development. The council can adopt the draft resolution that the mayor sends us, in which case she's free to proceed with her plan. Or if we take no action, the proposal eventually gets automatically disapproved. For the resolution we have before us, the council has until December 17th to decide whether to approve it. To help determine whether this committee should recommend the surplus resolution to the full council for approval, these are my goals for this hearing. 1, to give the public a final chance to comment on the record about this plan. 2, to review the process by which the executive determined that there's no need for the district government to keep possession of the lot at 2 Patterson. And 3, to hear more about the benefits that the private development is supposed to bring and make sure they're worth what we're giving up. I will now turn to my colleague, Councilmember Pinto, if you have an opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman White. I do not have an opening statement today, but thank you for holding this markup.
Wonderful. Glad to have you here. Well, we will move to our public witnesses. Let me lay out the ground rules very quickly. Everyone should have received a copy of the witness list yesterday. I'm going to call the witnesses from that list in the order in which they appear. When I call you, you will drop out of the hearing momentarily and return as a panelist, at which time you can unmute yourself to testify. Public witnesses will be provided with 4 minutes to testify. We will now call up our only panel of public witnesses, at least right now, Josh Olson and Stan Vodre. And Phil Hecht.
Hi, this is Josh Olson. It looks like we're still waiting for Stan Vodre to be let in.
Okay, thank you. We are trying to figure it out. There's someone named Zoom user, and we're not sure yet whether that is Stan.
That's me. I am sorry. I'm sorry. That was me. Yes.
Wonder that's Stan.
This is Stan Vodre. Yes.
Wonderful.
Sorry about
wonderful. That. Good to have you. Good to have you. Well, Josh, you can begin when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Josh Olson, Executive Vice President of Monument Realty. We're a DC-based development company. And we're part of a development team of which the other members are Housing Up. Phil Hecht is here from them. They're a nonprofit provider of affordable housing and services to residents of affordable housing. Then there's Morningstar, represented by Stan Vodre. They're experts at urban infill and sustainable projects. And lastly, the May Group, a local development and legal group led by the Ruby May, with expertise in community engagement. And the Ruby is actually chairing a panel right now at a conference. She was going to try to join, and she may still be able to join later in the hearing. And I'll be giving the testimony on behalf of the development team, but Phil and Stan are available to answer any questions that the committee may have. I'm testifying in support of the 2 Patterson surplus declaration and approval resolution of 2021. As you mentioned, Councilmember White, 2 Patterson is a 42,000 square foot property. It's currently used as a surface parking lot. It's part of the NOMA neighborhood, which has seen tremendous growth ever since the NOMA Gallaudet Metro Station opened in 2004. And this is one of the larger undeveloped parcels left in the neighborhood. If the 2 Patterson property is declared surplus and if the proposal for disposition is approved, the development team that I described above will develop the site with an approximately 580 unit apartment building. Of those 580 units, 325 of the units will be subject to an affordable housing covenant, and those units will be offered at rents that will be affordable to a wide range of income levels, from 30% to 80% MFI. Delivering 325 units and at a range of income levels, not just 60% or 80%, is a pretty significant contribution to the city's efforts to address the affordable housing crisis. There's been a lot of focus on that crisis in recent years, I think justifiably so, whether it be tweaks to inclusionary zoning or increases in the amount of money available through the Housing Production Trust Fund. But it's actually rare to provide over 300 affordable units in just one move. And yet that's what we're proposing to do with 2 Patterson Street. As you can tell from the emphasis I've put on this, the provision of affordable units is by far the biggest benefit of this project, but there are others. For instance, in addition to providing units at a broad range of income levels, we're also providing a significant number of larger affordable units. So these are 3 and 4 bedroom units, the so-called family-sized units, and that's in addition to the usual mix of studios, 1s and 2s. And then in addition to apartments, we'll have 4,500 square feet of community serving space that'll be accessed from the ground floor, from the street level. And so not only will it provide space for groups serving the community, and I hope serving some of the building's residents, but it will also provide active street frontage. So moving now from the inside of the building and the street face to the outside streetscape is also something that we intend to improve as part of this project. At the request of ANC 6C, we're working with DDOT to create a new park on a closed portion of N Street immediately north of the project. And then that park will connect with new streetscape along North Capitol Street. And in the middle of North Capitol Street, going down the block, our building would have a courtyard, and a portion of that courtyard connecting to the street would become a new pocket park. I should also note that intersection where N Street hits North Capitol and Newark Avenue is a pretty prominent intersection. And so replacing a surface parking lot with a new building on one of the corners, I think will help improve that area visually. And it's an area that tens of thousands of people pass by every day. Of course, it's not just the physical project, but how we implement the project that is important. I mentioned our development team at the beginning of the presentation. Every one of us is based here in the district. 3 of the 4 firms are CBEs, and the 4th firm, Housing Up, is a nonprofit. 2 of the firms, Morningstar and the May Group, are fulfilling the CBE participation requirement. Together, they'll have 25% of the equity invested in the deal, and that exceeds the usual 20% participation requirement. Staying with the CBE requirements and moving into First Source as well, a project like this creates hundreds of job opportunities during the construction phase. Morningstar, one of the development team members, is affiliated with MCN Build, and they're going to take the general contracting role for the project. MCN Build may be familiar to the council members. They do a lot of work for the district, most notably school renovations. So if you drive around the city and the school's being renovated, you will often see the MCN banner on the fence surrounding the project. As a result of doing all of these projects, MCN Build has an extensive program to find, nurture, and employ both CBEs and district residents. And CBE participation doesn't end with the development team or just the general contractor. Our architect, our lawyer, our title company are all CBEs. And at this stage in the project, we haven't even really begun full design. That really means that the majority of the participants in the project right now are CBEs. In closing, let me first thank the Deputy Mayor's Office and Suresh Alpadwala and his team for all their work on 2 Patterson. They led an extensive community outreach effort even before the RFP was released. And then they kept all the respondents, including our team, in touch with the community as the selection process progressed. We met multiple times with ANC 6C, first with their Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee, led by Commissioner Mark Eckenweiler, and then with the full ANC. And then LaRuby May on our team expanded on these outreach efforts by reaching out to some other community stakeholders, including local faith leaders. And of course, Ms. May and the entire team will continue this outreach as the project moves forward. Lastly, thank you, Chairperson White and Councilmember Pinto. Thank you to the committee and their staff. We appreciate the questions that were asked in the lead up to the hearing. We're grateful for the time that you've spent on this matter, and I'm grateful for letting me deliver this testimony, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And you're doing the only testimony for the group, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, wonderful. We'll thank all three of you for your work on this and for being with the committee today. Let me start by going back over the breakdown of units. So there'll be 580 residential units total. That's right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you mentioned that there will be some set aside at 30, 50, and 80% of the median family income or MFI.
That's correct.
Okay, how many units in each of those categories?
48 units at 30% of MFI, 147 units at 50%, and 130 units at 80%.
130 at 80%. Okay. And what's the monetary, how long are the covenants proposed for?
They'll be for the life of the project, 99 years, the
Okay.
life of the ground lease.
Okay. And what's the monetary value of the affordable units?
In terms of how those impact the land value?
Yes.
So I know that DEMPED had an appraisal done. I believe that appraisal put the land value at 17.5 million without affordable units. So if the project was just developed as a market rate project, and then effectively the provision of the affordable units took the value down to $1. But we weren't involved in the appraisal process, so DEMPED might have more to say on that.
Okay, I appreciate it. I'm familiar with their process. It is sometimes crazy to me, but sometimes it makes sense. So that your answer makes sense to me. I'm very glad to hear about the 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. That's a place we don't do enough, especially in the 3 and 4 bedroom units. And I know it's difficult to make those work. So how many 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units are proposed in the project?
So of affordable units, we have 37 3 bedrooms and 10 4 bedrooms. And then doing some quick math here, we have 30 affordable 2 bedroom units.
Okay, and that's all of the affordable at 30, 50, or and 80% AMI?
That's correct.
Okay. Will there be any difference between the affordable units and the market rate units?
No, I believe the covenant will state that the affordable units need to be similar in size and finishes to the market rate units.
Great. I missed what Housing Up and the May Group, what are each of those entities doing in the project?
Well, we're all one development team.
Okay, all part of the joint venture?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Housing Up, is that located in DC? I think you mentioned all the groups are located in DC.
We are, and I'll let Phil Hecht respond from Housing Up.
Thank you, Councilman White, Councilmember Pinto. We've been in the district for 30 years. We provided affordable housing and services to formerly homeless families, again, for 30 years. That is what we will provide resident services at this building, but this is our sweet spot.
Wonderful. So you Housing Up will have an ongoing involvement beyond construction?
We intend to, with Josh's acquiescence, we will intend to continue to provide what resident services we can, and whatever the development team asks us to do.
Thank you. And Josh or anyone else, you mentioned a public park, and I just didn't follow it as closely as I would have liked. Is there multiple parks? You mentioned a pocket park as well. So are you all developing multiple parks or just one?
It'll really be two. So up north of the project, where N Street and North Capitol and New York Avenue come together, there's one of those little triangular parks right now. And then the idea is to close the portion of N Street between our project and the triangular park, combine those two to create a larger park area. This was something that the community came up with in conjunction with DDOT. Part of it is to provide more green space, which NOMA is generally lacking. Part of it is that intersection with N Street didn't really make sense. It wasn't safe. It wasn't working. So it's an easy street to close and then turn that into park space. And then as you continue down North Capitol Street, really in the middle of our project, we've got a separation between the buildings, which goes in and becomes a courtyard between our buildings. But the front portion of that, as it connects to North Capitol Street, will also be a little park area, a pocket park.
Okay, wonderful. And so of all of those park spaces, will all of them be public parks and publicly accessible?
Yes, both of those will be publicly accessible.
Wonderful. I know you all answered a number of questions for the Committee on Business and Economic Development. I have a number of questions for the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, but those are all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else important to the project that didn't come up in your testimony or that I've not asked about?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate the questions and your attention to this matter.
I appreciate it. Well, thank all three of you. I appreciate it. We will move now to our government witness, and I want to again thank our panel of public witnesses and invite our government witness, Patrick Smith, Development Manager with the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. It's I'll give him a second to join. Good to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm quite well, thank you. And you?
Doing well, thank you. Doing well.
Thank you. Good.
Welcome.
So I assume you can hear me.
Yes. It is the practice of our committee to swear in all of our government witnesses. So I would ask that you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to provide to the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I so swear.
Thank you so much. You can begin your testimony when you are ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson White, Councilmember Pimpo, members and staff on the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities. My name is Patrick Pendleton Smith, and I serve as the Development Manager in the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, also known as DEMPED, for the 2 Patterson project. I am here to testify in support of PR 24-0223, the 2 Patterson Surplus Declaration and Approval Resolution of 2021. The approval of this resolution would authorize the mayor to declare as surplus the District of Columbia owned real property known as 2 Patterson, located at 2 Patterson Street Northeast, and known for taxation purposes as Lot 0245 in Square 0672. While the subjects of today's hearing is the declaration of the property as surplus, my testimony will also touch on aspects of the proposed disposition of the property, which is PR 24-0222, the 2 Patterson Disposition Approval Resolution of 2021, which is currently pending before the Committee on Business and Economic Development. I would like to thank you for holding this hearing, and I would like to recognize the invaluable contributions of the community, particularly past and present members of ANC 6C, NOMA residents, Ward 6 Councilmember Allen and his staff, and the many other neighbors and community members who have made and been active in making the redevelopment of 2 Patterson take shape. The property is unimproved land totaling approximately 42,252 square feet, and it's currently used as a surface parking lot. The property has excellent multimodal transportation access due to proximity to multiple Metrobus and circulator lines, as well as the Noma Gallaudet University Metro Rail Station with service on the Red Line. The Noma neighborhood is one of the fastest developing areas of the city with by right D5 high density zoning. The property is within blocks of full-service Harris Teeter grocery store and several restaurants and retail establishments within the First Street Northeast mixed-use commercial node. DEMPED hosted a properly noticed community meeting about the proposed determination of the property as surplus on April 18th, 2017, which was the surplus hearing at Northwest One Library at 155 L Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. The meeting included a review of the surplus and disposition process and time for the public to submit their comments about the surplus process. Following the surplus hearing, the district completed a thorough competitive solicitation process to select a developer to develop the property. On June 22nd, 2018, DEMPED issued a request for proposals, also known as an RFP, for the property, seeking proposals to create a mixed-use, transit-oriented development. Information relating to the property's solicitation process, including a copy of the RFP, was posted on the DEMPED website. The RFP included the following community-focused requirements. The building design should demonstrate architectural excellence. The building should be consistent with the surrounding buildings. The development should be open and inviting as a complement to the existing and new developments in the surrounding area. And the development plan should maximize affordable housing, provide employment opportunities for local residents and businesses, and provide contracting opportunities for CBEs. On July 12th, 2018, DEMPED hosted a pre-response conference for members of the public interested in the solicitation. The solicitation process engaged the broadest possible pool of experienced respondents capable of creating unique urban infill developments. DEMPED hosted a properly noticed hearing to obtain community comments and suggestions on the proposed use of the property, also known as the disposition hearing, on November 18th, 2018 at the Walker Jones School, located at 1125 New Jersey Avenue Northwest. Following the disposition hearing, DEMPED convened an RFP review panel, which took into consideration the developer proposals, developer interviews, the community presentations, community feedback, and ANC 6C's recommendations and comments. Based on this aggregation of criteria, DEMPED selected the development team of MMMC2 Patterson JV LLC, which is the developer, to negotiate for the disposition and development of the property. The developer is a joint venture by and among special purpose entities affiliated with Monument Realty LLC, Morningstar Community Development LLC, the May Firm PLLC, and THC Affordable Housing Inc. doing business as Housing Up. The minority CBE partners of Morningstar Community Development and the May Firm are exceeding the 20% CBE developer equity allocation requirement. Furthermore, Monument Realty is also a certified CBE and will provide the rest of the required equity along with THC Affordable Housing. The proposed development will include affordable housing and an outdoor space within a central courtyard program for community events and other outdoor activities. Specifically, the proposed development includes ground floor accessible commercial and or retail, of which at least 4,500 square feet will be used for community and or cultural space, and outdoor courtyard space, a portion of which shall be accessible to the public, and a high-rise building with approximately 580 total residential units comprised of studio, 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms, of which 325 will be affordable dwelling units, also known as ADUs, for rent to households with maximum incomes up to and between 30% to 80% of the area median family income, also called MFI. 47 of the ADUs will be 3 and 4 bedroom apartments. The proposed development will also provide for the reconfiguration of the intersection of N Street Northeast and North Capitol Street to create a pocket park with public amenities and pedestrian-friendly sidewalks designed in conjunction with the District Department of Transportation, also called DDOT. Regarding tax revenue, the project is anticipated to generate approximately $56,872,327 in permanent tax revenue over 30 years, and is anticipated to create over 779 temporary jobs through the construction period and over 149 permanent jobs upon completion. DEMPED is proud to be moving this exciting project forward activating currently underutilized space in the Noma neighborhood, and bringing vital resources of affordable and market rate housing, additional tax revenue, and new jobs to the district. Thank you for your time and consideration of the legislation. We are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. So under the surplus property laws, the mayor has to submit an analysis of whether the district could put a property to any use. So for the record and for the benefit of anyone watching, could you describe the administration's process for ruling out other government uses for 2 Patterson?
Yes. So the public meeting to solicit community input regarding the proposed declaration of property as surplus, that was held on April 28, 2017 at Northwest 1 in the neighborhood library. The ANCs were provided advance written notice on March 27, 2017, and notice of the public meeting was published in the district in the Columbia Register on April 14, 2017. There were approximately 3 people present at the surplus hearing, 2 of which were DEMPED staff. There was 1 person from the public, I believe it was Mr. Johnson, and he spoke in support of the project.
And the surplus resolution that the package that we received describes some of the existing government amenities in the neighborhood, such as an agency office that is around the corner, 3 schools and a playground within a half a mile, and a library and rec center, each about a half mile away. Did DEMPED consult with DGS, DC, PS, DC, I'm sorry, Public Charter School Board, DPR, Department of Recs, to see whether those existing facilities meet the area's needs?
Yes, DEMPED engaged with the other district agencies such as DDOT, DCPS, DGS, and there are currently no plans for this property to be used by the district.
And does the recent proliferation of tent encampments for people experiencing homelessness in and around Noma suggest to you that there may be some unmet needs in that area?
That's an interesting question. I personally, and speaking for only as myself, there appears to be a need for taking care of the situation. Yes.
I recognize it's a difficult question. Really, just trying to make sure that we do a thorough analysis as a committee. One thought is that the encampments at New Jersey and O Streets. I understand that 3 people have died this year, and it's about a 12-minute walk away. I wonder if 2 Patterson could have been put to any use now or in recent years that might have helped get those residents who are living in that park into housing. Has DEMPED analyzed, whether there could be some housing opportunities for homeless individuals there?
Again, as the project, yeah, we're fighting deeply affordable housing at 30%, up to 30% MFI. I think that's the maximum income. So 48 of the units will be deeply affordable at 30%. So if you make 0%, you can live there.
Okay. You can, and the agency can follow up with the committee if you have additional thoughts on that aspect. Again, I recognize it's a difficult issue. So if the agency has additional thoughts on that, please feel free to follow up and we'll supplement the record. The one specific government use idea for 2 Patterson that I saw discussed in the surplus analysis was replacement housing for Temple Courts. So how did you decide that the new Northwest 1 satisfied the need for replacement housing?
The Northwest, I was informed, the 2 Patterson project was not needed for replacement housing, as all the replacement housing had been accounted for prior to 2 Patterson being surplused. And as it was accounted for, we are able to surplus 2 Patterson.
Okay.
It wasn't needed.
Do you know how many units were demolished at Temple Courts and how many units, replacement units were created at Northwest One?
211 units are being provided as replacement housing.
Okay. Do you know how many were demolished at Temple Courts?
No, I'd have to follow up with you, sir. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. I'd appreciate it. You can follow up, not a problem. Do you know how do you know what assurances we, the DC government, made to Temple Court residents at the time before demolition regarding how much replacement housing would be available?
Yeah, the new communities team will have to follow up with you, sir.
Okay,
Is that
thank
okay?
you. Not a problem. And I believe they're building something over there at Northwest One. I think it's under construction now. Do you happen to know whether the replacement housing for Temple Courts is available now, or happen to know when it will be available?
The first phase will include 85 units, and the remainder will be provided in phase 2 and 3.
Okay. And if you would let us know the timing for the each phase, I'd appreciate it.
Is that something I can get back to you on, sir?
Absolutely. This is another one that may require a follow-up, but I do want to ask that there was some press coverage of the Northwest One redevelopment plan in 2019. It was done by WAMU, suggesting that Temple Courts replacement housing eligibility criteria were available at dcnewcommunities.org, but I wasn't able to find that because the website is defunct. Where could former Temple Courts residents figure out their eligibility for replacement housing? Is that something you know or can follow up on?
I'll be glad to follow up on that for you, sir.
Thank you. And I'd also like to know when the last time was that DMPED reached out to all known former Temple Courts residents.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. You mentioned that only one member of the public attended your surplus hearing back in April 2017. Did you consider holding additional listening sessions after the formal surplus and disposition hearings to make sure you were accounting for any changing needs in the neighborhood?
We did not hold any further.
My concern there is that the surplus hearing was 4.5 years ago, and the hearing on that was in November 2018, about 3 years ago. And the neighborhood, as you know, around New York Avenue and North Capitol has really changed a lot over the past few years. So I'm just not sure if the needs have changed in that time. Do you feel I guess comfortable or confident that we have an up-to-date analysis of the needs of the neighborhood?
Yes.
Do you know how many residential units have come online in the past 4.5 years or so?
No, that's information I'd have to get back to you on, sir.
Okay, I'd appreciate it. Was there any other public engagement specifically on the surplus question? Well, let me ask this first. Did DMPED engage in any outreach specifically to former Temple Courts residents to see if they had ideas for district uses of 2 Patterson, or were they contacted for the meeting that you did in 2017?
I'll have to follow up with the NCI team, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So as of March of this year, 2021, under the Surplus Green Space Retention Amendment Act of 2021, the mayor's draft surplus resolution analyses are supposed to list the square footage of green space on the real property defined as the area of grass, trees, or other vegetation accessible to the public. I don't see that in the surplus package that we received from the mayor in May. Could you confirm as soon as possible after this hearing whether or not there's currently any green space at 2 Patterson?
I will confirm, yes.
Thank you. The breakdown of the affordable units, 48 units at or below 30% MFI, 147 units at or below 50% MFI, and 130 units at or below 80%. There also are 10 4-bedroom units planned, 3 affordably, 37 3-bedroom units, and 32 bedroom units. What did DMPED consider when negotiating those figures, the number of affordable units and the number of affordable multi-bedroom units?
We wanted to maximize the benefit of the district of the total number of affordable units we could fit on the site, balancing that against the economics of the project to make it viable without a district subsidy. And then a unit mix that makes sense.
Okay. And so you feel confident that this is the best kind of, deal we can get for residents?
Yes.
The draft contract included in the disposition package appears to leave open the possibility that the numbers and capacities of affordable units might be modified. When will these numbers be finalized?
Yeah. You're referring to the affordable housing plan, correct? A little caveat on that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, that's when we go to closing and financing, there may be, we're sticking with that affordable housing plan.
Okay, so these units will be the numbers listed in your testimony and the development team's testimony is what we should expect to see as the final numbers.
That's what, yes.
The disposition package also estimates that over 41 out of 149 permanent jobs associated with the development would go to district residents. Can you explain how you arrived at that figure?
We have a consultant who provides that information based on the program. So that's the information I have, sir.
So does DMPED have a breakdown of what those permanent jobs will be?
No, I do not.
Okay. We'll have to get some more information on that because it was, determined somehow. So if you could follow up and let us know, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The length of the lease, 99 years. How did DMPED come to that number, that length of a lease as the best way to achieve the benefits that we're discussing today, the affordable units?
It's been district policy to, when possible, do a long-term ground lease to maintain ultimate district control of the properties that we have in disposition of.
Okay. Why 99 years as opposed to 50?
It's a real estate economic driver of a 99-year ground lease is financeable.
Okay. So financing being the main driver there and the length of the lease.
One of the main drivers, yes.
And the appraised value of 2 Patterson was $17.5 million. Do you have any reason to think that that's an overestimate or underestimate of what the district could get by selling that property outright?
No, that appeared to be the right estimate.
So if it was sold outright, that's what we, with no restrictions, that's what we would expect the assessment to be.
Yes, if it was developed as office use and sold on the open market with no restrictions, someone would ask $17,500,000 for it.
Okay, and that the appraisals, does DIMPED do that with an outside entity, or did DIMPED develop the appraisal?
It was an outside entity, Newmark Knight Frank.
Okay. There are some restrictions baked into the term sheet with the developers. And what I couldn't figure out is why the restrictions were not in the purchase agreement. Is there a reason for that?
And the purchase agreements. So you're describing the statement of minimum business terms.
Yeah.
I just, if you could clarify, you mean what you mean by the, yeah, just gotta get some clarification.
Yeah,
I apologize.
no problem. Let me pull up the document. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is why not sell the property outright to the development team or on the open market? So like if you put the restrictions that we put in here, right? The covenants, the affordability covenants, why not sell the land with those restrictions as opposed to doing a long-term lease?
Right. Well, DEMPED can't sell the land because of 10801. It's the law.
Okay.
So,
the disposition packet has a reference to expected tax revenues of about $57 million over 30 years. Can you give a brief discussion of the assumptions that underline that estimate?
that's for, as I mentioned before, it's done by a consultant. They take the program of the building, the size of the building, base it on economics, and they give us back these numbers.
Okay, and that was done by the appraisal team or a different team?
A different team.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens to the property if the developers run into challenges either in the development phase or in the next 99 years and cease using the property?
I mean, there are remedies determined by the ground lease. So there'll be a very comprehensive ground lease and the remedies for what happens should things arise, such as you described, how we approach them and how we solve them. Okay,
and those terms haven't been established yet?
They have not been finalized yet, yes.
Okay. One concern that's raised over the years is a concern that there are agreements on the number of affordable units at the outset, but then developers will request a change sort of midstream. What guarantees do we have that the number of units, affordable units discussed today, will be the number of units, affordable units ultimately built?
Right. We're holding them to the affordability covenant that they're going to sign at closing. So once they sign that covenant, that's the number of units we get.
Okay. And will there be any terms in the agreement that a address that circumstance, or I mean, would it be a breach of contract? I just trying to figure out what action we could or would take if there's a request during the development process to reduce the number of affordable units.
Right. Once they execute the affordable dwelling unit covenant, the ADU covenant, they provide the affordable unit index. And then, yes, it would be a breach of contract if they were to deviate from that affordable unit index.
Okay. And the disposition packet mentions that ANC 6B received developer team presentations and delivered a recommendation. What was the recommendation of ANC 6B?
Do you mean ANC 6C, sir?
I may. My notes say 6B, but you may know better. Was it 6C?
It was 6C. I apologize
Thank you.
for correcting you, sir. Yes.
Yes, 6C. What were their what was their recommendation?
The recommendations were that their highest priority is the provision of affordable housing and providing affordable housing. There was an emphasis on making sure that the substantial number of affordable units are larger than 2 bedrooms. They wanted to make sure that if there is a courtyard, that it's accessible to the public, and they wanted to make sure that the building was built to a green level of gold, LEED Gold or better. They were very vocal about that.
Wonderful. And will it be LEED Gold or better?
Yes, the developer's committed to LEED Gold.
Wonderful. Now, are there any points of disagreement that still remain between the executive and the developers?
No.
And if the council approves the legislation, how long will it take to finalize and execute the lease?
Well, based on council approval in November, we would break ground in September of 2023 and complete the project in March of 2026.
Okay. And what about finalizing and executing the lease? How long will that take? Or when do you expect that to be done?
Oh, do you mean by the lease, do you mean the land disposition agreement?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that should be done within 60 days of council approval.
Okay. And that is what is that document establishes the 99-year lease.
No, that document establishes the contract between us and the developer to perform the development.
Okay.
The ground lease for 99 years is executed at closing.
At closing.
Closing
Okay.
occurs, yes.
I'm with you. Thank you. And when do you expect to go to closing if the council approves this in November?
So if construction is in September, it's roughly 30 to 60 days before that.
Okay.
So that would be July or August of 2023.
And I know that's always a frantic process. So,
Yes.
I'm getting a note that the earliest the council would approve it is December.
Sorry.
So let me say that. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to bring to the committee's attention?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to testify.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for being here, Mr. Smith, and thank you in advance for the follow-ups that you are going to send to the committee. Those are all the questions that I have at this time. So, again, thank you to you and your team. I do want to mention for anyone who was not able to testify today, written testimony is encouraged and will be made part of the official record. Anyone who is interested can submit additional testimony by email to the committee at facilities@dccouncil.us. The record for this hearing will close at the close of business on Thursday, October 28th, 2021. With that, the business before the committee is concluded. The time is now 1:55 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned. Thank you again.
Thank you.